Hello everyone and welcome back to a new episode of the Penetration Tester BT1 exam prep. In this episode we're gonna explore two rooms together. First one is gonna be intro to SSRF and the second is gonna be the SSRF without intro. So the intro one, it's a very easy room and a premium room. However, the second one, it's a free room, anyone can deploy virtual machines. So let's start with the easiest and let me start the machine immediately and let's start our room. Okay, so room brief. What is SSRF? SSRF means server-side request forgery. So you can either call for a remote server or call for the internal server. It really depends on the allow list and the deny list, and sometimes you can use the file payload using file, then 3 times / to access files, or even you can use Gopher. However, let's stick to the basics. So to make an additional or edited HTTP request to the source of the attacker is choosing. So we are forcing what we need to call. Type of SSRF, there are several types, like blind SSRF, which you will probably see in real case scenario, or semi-blind, and there is the regular one where you get a feedback of your request. Successful SSRF a result of any of the following, either to unauthorized access or areas, or access to data, or a scan, or ability to scale internal network, and reveal auth tokens or crits. So what does SSRF means? It means server-side forgery request or request forgery. And okay, let me turn off the sound effects turned off. And opposed to regular blind. Let's move forward. So I'm gonna just try to save time because these are very easy examples. So here you can discover on your own, but I'm gonna explain that very fast. SSRF means when we have a request, so the website is calling an API or another URL, and you want to change that URL to something malicious. So here the URL is calling an internal directory, so you can just use the double dots / to call something, and here is calling an API, and here we are calling an API and reaching an item's ID, which is 123, and here let's discover this task. Using what you have learned, try changing the address in the browser below to force the web server to return data. This data to make things easier. The server requesting bar at the bottom of the mock browser will show the URL the website TryHackMe is requesting. So, oops, my virtual machine went into sleep. Okay, let me stay here. So here is our URL. Let's try and press enter. Here is the requested URL. However, we need to request this website. Let me check. Do we need to add the HTTPS or not? Let me try like this. Not found. Let me remove the HTTPS. So probably we need to remove the HTTPS. Let me press enter. Not found as well. So over here we are making the request firstly to the TryHackMe server, then to the malicious one. We need to somehow reverse that and to make it the other way around. So we try to add x %, x equal, and we get the flag. So by doing this, we try to reach our server first and provided that as the second parameter. Let me take that and move that into the flag. So how do you usually discover SSRF? So whenever you see a server requesting another server or a server parameter pointing into an external server or external IP or even like a localhost IP, you can try and reach for internal files or at least try to do port scanning. We're gonna discover that in a while, and in a moment you're gonna see everything. Here they are just showing us that we are calling API, not the full request, and here they are reaching only the path of the URL or an internal file. So based on a simple observation, which one of these do you think is an SSRF variable? So let's think and use our critical thinking for each one. The first one doesn't seem to be vulnerable. The second one, here we see ID, maybe that's gonna be an IDOR, maybe you can reach some internal files and try path traversals. Maybe you can try command injection. However, it's not probably gonna be an SSRF. Over here we see server equal and trying to reach a file storage in the cloud with a port, so that's might be an SSRF. The last one, there is no indication of any server. Okay, so let's just type 3. Defeating common SSRF defenses. Either you make a deny list or a low list, or you make them together, and by open redirects with which we discovered a little bit earlier, what method can be used. You can read that on your own in order not the video to be so long because we have to do the second room. What method can be used to bypass strict rules? So it's going to be open redirect. And what the IP may contain sensitive data in a cloud environment. Okay, I have a typo. What IP address? So the IP address we are trying to reach is this, which may have some files on the cloud. So whenever you have an internal access through the SSRF, you can check that IP. What type of list is used to permit only certain input? Low list. Yep. And deny list. So here we deployed our machine. Let's check what they want from us. Here they are telling us create a customer account and sign in. Let me copy that. And you need to be connected to TryHackMe. Oops. Let me change that. And here I'm gonna try and connect to TryHackMe. So if you are still new and you don't know what's going on, you can download your OpenVPN config. You can search online how to do that and connect to the target IP. So you cannot reach that unless you are connected to TryHackMe. However, in our case, we need this link specifically. I think we can reach that without TryHackMe. Let me check. So I'm gonna open up Firefox. I'm waiting until. Okay, the proxy server is refusing connection because I have burp turned on. And here is our Acme support. Let me, however, turn off the proxy. Yeah, so it works because it's a reverse proxy EU server, which probably is going to be by AWS, or maybe an internal thing that's hosted internally. However, the main thing, we need to make a user. So let's sign up. I'm gonna call myself ABC, abc@gmail.com. Password is gonna be 123456. So yep, we are now logged in. What do they need from us? We need to have an avatar. Oops, sorry for the red eye flash. So let's try and search for that. So we are not seeing anything about that. Let me go into here. So we need to reach the new account page. Let me do this. So this is the page that they are talking on. Let me check. So I always like to check with inspector and with source code. So source code, here we see customer's account, but it's an action, it's not a URL. Here we see URL, and here we see a value. So let me read that. Here we have a div class called avatar image, style. So this is a style, trying to reach the style. We are not that interested. And here the input, it's a radio button, and it's trying to reach a value assets of avatars. So probably here is gonna be our injection, our vulnerability. So here, if you choose one of the avatars, okay, here they are trying to tell us viewing the page source. Image content is base64 encoded. So we need to choose first of all an avatar. Let me try and do that. Let's choose this young man, and we have our own avatar. Let me check the source code again. And do we see something base64? Yep. So whenever we choose an avatar, it gets the URL and then it takes the base64. Okay, let me copy that and try to decode that. I'm gonna copy that till here and base64 decode. You can do that on your terminal as well. Gonna copy that. Gonna remove the the tags. Let me check that fast. So yeah, we don't need the brackets. So here probably it's an image. Yep, it's an image decoded and into base64. And yep, let's get back into our task. Now let's try making the request again, but changing the avatar value to private. So we need to make the same thing. We're gonna use inspect and change to private, and here we see we cannot reach private. So actually let's try two stuff. First of all, I'm gonna try with this avatar, or let's keep up with the young man. He seems as a programmer just like us, and let me make this bigger. So here for the URL, let's try for now to change the style URL and see what's gonna happen. Private. So we see the URL like completely disappeared. We changed the first one, not for the young one. However, if we press update avatar, the functionality is still the same. So we haven't changed anything. I would say we have changed only the front end aspect. We haven't changed any of the back end one. So if we need to mess up with the internal code, you can change the value over here. And whenever you choose this button, you're gonna have URL cannot start with private or right. So here they are telling us we need to reach the flag of x dot dot / private. So we need to path traverse 1. Okay, let us choose this. And let's try without the x. And press enter, choose him. Be sure to choose the value that you changed. And invalid response received from endpoint. So that's probably an indicator that the input is filtered and we need X at least in order to bypass the filter. So I'm gonna say X as they want. Let me try, for instance, undefined, undef, I'm gonna say, and private. And try to choose him again. So we see avatar updated. So we just cannot start with dot / and however we see nothing. So my lovely friend, beloved friend, which is the source code. So what do they need from us? Private directory base 64 encoding. So we just gonna search for base 64. Here is probably the flag. Let's take that. You can use any other website to decode. I just like to say on Google base 64 decode and use that. You can use base 64 chef, coding chef, I believe, or I forgot the name of the website. We can get here. Okay, base 64 CyberChef. Yep. So this is gonna be our flag. This is the first part of the video. Let's move. Okay, thank you for the congratulations. Now let's move on to the second part. Let's start our machine and let's wait at least until the machine is up. So until that, please don't forget to subscribe. Many of those who watch my videos are not subscribed to the channel, so if you are interested in further content, please make sure to subscribe and leave a like if you are interested. So let's get back over here. Okay, so the introduction, same thing. We have just read over there. We're not gonna repeat that. Learning objectives of this room, understanding of the SSRF, of course, because that was very basic in the previous one. Testing various types, tools for exploitation and mitigation. So be sure to at least pass these rooms. They are not that, I would say, these requisites are not that important, but you can check them, start the machine, and but first you need to add host your. So it's my first time trying this room, so I haven't passed that yet, so I'm gonna read more precisely than the previous one. Here they are telling us to add etc host, so let me get back into here. I'm gonna close this, I'm gonna open a new one. And in here, oops, why do I have this? Let me remove that. So I believe we need to press view and, oops, not like that. Yep. So either you can go into your etc host and add that, or I have my own function and I'm gonna, let me paste that and copy the IP, paste that before. So probably I'm gonna just add the HMRS if I'm not mistaken. Yep. So we are just trying to help our PC to resolve the IP for this machine. Let me take that and say complete. Let's check the website before reading anything. hrms.tryhackme. So maybe the website is built in order to HRMS. So you need to enter the name. It's way. Okay, that's vague. HRMS TryHackMe. Let me try and bing that. So it's not reachable. Okay, because I stopped my connection. Now let me try to bing that again. Or let me just try refresh this. Still not reachable. It's here. Let me try and bring that. So it's reachable now, but the DNS is not working. HRMS. Nah, Firefox, don't do that to me. Let me copy this. Come on, Firefox. Okay, now everything is rocking. And let's start. So, first of all, we can see immediately that here the URL parameter is calling localhost. So whenever I see localhost, I try with, let's try with, I just like to test. Yeah, it's calling the same thing. Oh, server not found. Okay, so here is the answer is gonna be for our parameters. So whenever you want to make port scanning, you need to use the localhost, not the numerical values. Let's try port 80, server not found. Maybe port 8080. So which port is this? Okay, I'm gonna leave the port um, enumeration. I don't know if we need that in our tasks because I haven't gone through them yet. So here we have a login page. Let's try to test that for now. So here we are calling copyright. Let me try to reach index.php. Okay, so here we see index.php.php is not found. Let me try with this. Okay, so we cannot omit that .php. Was that without the .php? We see here the source code of the index.php, which is not our current. We are using the, which one? What was the name? Copyright. So let's switch into index and check. Okay, so over here we see redirect to time route require once constant and config. Let's check both of these files. So here we see it takes a directory name and define a root path. Okay. The second one, config. Here we see the source code. Okay, I'm gonna check that in a minute. Let me check config. And yep, here we see a username and password and an admin URL. Let me save this. We might need that later. Because here we are calling localhost, we are not calling a specific IP. So I'm just... So yep, we don't have any access to this IP, so I'm gonna leave that here as a reference, and HRMS admin, HRMS 123. So, okay, here is our first flag. Let me get back to here and let's read over here what they want from us. An SSRF vulnerability that arises when user profile data is used to construct a request, such as forming a URL. To execute an SSRF attack, an attacker can manipulate a parameter value within the vulnerable software. So maybe in the real-time or real-life scenario, the case won't be as simple as that. You're gonna see the parameter here. You might have that in a picture as we have seen in the intro into SSRF. So just bear that in mind. Here we see the OWASP ranking and talking about the max incidence rate and the average and the risk, of course, data exposure, reconnaissance because of port scanning. That's my favorite thing. I always like to port scan through SSRF. It's very rare to take an RCE. Well, unlike most of the hack the box or TryHackMe labs, in real life scenarios, you won't probably get an RCE. You might like combine that with an XSS or something in between. And denial of service, you won't use that in real time, in real life scenarios as well, unless you are an extremely like critical and bad hacker. What is the average weight? So the average here is average weighted impact by the OWASP top 10. So since it's an OWASP top 10, so probably it's recognizable by the programmers and the script kiddies, so it's gonna be very hard to find in the real life penetration testing scenarios. But however, since in the OWASP on the other side, then many people still have this issue in their web applications. So scenario 1, SSRF against a local server. Here they are telling us copyright. We discover that on our own. However, here they are telling us to immediately go to config. We discovered by the index, not by the config immediately. And here they are telling us the data would be provided here because copyright, it prints the copyright HRMS. So the data here is probably, it's not dynamic, it's static, PHP static page. We can see the local URL, local host. Okay, here they are explaining to us if we can reach hello. Hello is not found. We tried other pages and we received the same thing. So it's good to try by your own before using the TryHackMe hints. What's the username? What was the username? I forgot. Okay, now we have details. PHP. Let me log out, and here config. Oops. HRMS admin. At 1, 2, 3. So here they are reminding us of the link that we found. So probably it means something. HRMS. I'm gonna probably save that, and let's that flag into here. Alright. I'm gonna copy that to somewhere. Let me check other flag bigger than that and copy that into there. What I'm trying to do is finding a field where I can paste my flag, because I've copied the wrong one. I mean the full text. Let me just take TryHackMe. I'm gonna zoom in again, and we have the flag. Okay, that's frustrating. Okay, scenario 2, accessing an internal server. So let's discover on our own. Okay, as always, my beloved friend, the source code. Here we see some SSS in the front end, which is really bad. So here we see the employees. It's calling dash details, and the training is calling a banner, and the profile is calling a get info.php. So we see several stuffs. So we are seeing the employees, but I want the employee and salary. Where do we find the salary? Not found. Alright, so select category at least. Yeah, here is it. So we see employee.php and salary.php. However, this is the internal IP that we've found about admin, if you can recall. So we have several endpoints. Let me start with the admin PHP. I'm gonna go into here, or let me, since salary is not working, I'm gonna paste. Do I need to? I'm gonna try solve that without perp. Let me go into employee. The employee is not working as well. Okay, now nothing is working. Now it's working again. So here we see the value. I need to check how we are calling this. Not like this, of course not like this. Okay, I'm gonna try with perp. I'm very noob with guessing the requests, so I'm gonna intercept that with perp. And let me go into intercept on. Let me turn on perp tweet. And I'm gonna try with salary. So we are going to details.php and the category. So it's provided as post request. So instead of category, salary.php, I'm gonna say admin php. Or you know what? I'm gonna send that to repeater and check. Okay, so now we get something. How can we... let me get that category. So it's gonna be details.php. Maybe I need to provide that as parameter like this. Oops. And let me turn off the intercept. Ah, okay. We got that. Let me check the link. I haven't had the chance. Nah. So here are the employees. Let me intercept that. There is no post request. I'm gonna forward that. Forward again. So here is the request that we are talking about. I'm gonna forward that as admin. I'm interested in the URL. I forgot to forward the callback. Let me save that flag for now. And we're getting something over here. Okay. So here, what do we have till now? Okay. And here we have an email and a password. So we had a password, but we don't have any email credentials. Let me get back into our employee and turn off. There is no emails. Okay, I'm interested in how I can reach the admin page without the verb. So a quick look on the source code. So probably by changing the value only I can... Let me check over here, and over here I'm gonna always say admin.php. Choose salary, and nothing's happened. Why? Let me call the employees again. Maybe it's broken, because even employees haven't had any values. And over here I'm gonna call admin. Press enter. And yep, now it's working. And okay, we've discovered too much. Let me get back into here. Over here they are telling us the second scenario, accessing an internal server, which we've seen for internal server IP's addresses. It's gonna be 192.168 something something or 10 something something for IPv4s. So here, or a domain name. Okay, how it works. They are explaining that we cannot reach admin PHP as we've tried from the beginning. If we just entered that internal IP, because we cannot reach that. And here they are telling us the same thing. So I could just read that instead of intercepting with perp. Okay. Actually, going through the room after trying to explore that by yourself is much better, I would say. So here by the salary, okay, we have the flag. Is accessing a routable address. Possible server is variable to SSRF. Possible. Is accessing non-routable. Possible is variable. I believe, yeah. Because we've reached the internal one. what the flag. Let me go back into here. And this is our flag. And here is the fun stuff. Shall we read that, or I can use the auto reader if you want.
SSRF. Discover the inner workings of SSRF and
Nah, that's gonna be very cringe. Okay. So if you don't know, you can use an extension.
SSRF.
I usually use it whenever I want to study by the TryHack, Hack the Box Academy. So you can check that, read aloud. Okay, let's get back into our section. So blind SSRF with out of band. What does out of band mean? It means that whenever we are calling the server, the internal server, we might be able, if we are not restricted by an allow or deny list, we might be able to call back to ourselves. However, in the web applications, you cannot reach yourself. Here we are connected through a VPN. So if it's not an internal pen testing, you need to make an outsourced server, I would say. And here the blind SSRF where you don't get a response. However, there are sometimes where you can get a response. For instance, either by time you check the time response. So whenever if you tried to register with or tried with forget password. So if the user is not available in the database, it would be much better, much faster than, for instance, with a user is already available in the database. Thus, you can scrape all the available users. Let's get back into our case, into our scenario. So once again, so here they are telling us get info.php. I believe once I tried the source code, I can recall I've seen get info, maybe in the profile, right? Yep, here is it. Get info, sending analytics data. Let me check the source code. So nothing that interesting yet. Let me try from within here, try to reach something like index.php config. Maybe like etc hosts. I like to start with etc password for first with 4, with 3 I mean. Then over here 2 dots again. I mean you can use JADX, right? Oops. And try to enumerate that. Okay, so far not good. Get back into info.php. Okay. Actually, let's try to intercept that. And let's try JADX together. So this is, I'm gonna send that into Turbo Intruder. And instead of info.php, shall we try? Okay, I'm gonna try without the .php. And over here, set false if you want to use numerical. I don't want numerical, and I'm gonna use the LFI JADX.txt. So it's not working because I forgot to do the dash at %s. So we see some results. Actually, let's check them. Bad request. Let me render that. So bad request it's for the Windows stuff. Okay, I'm gonna go here, the words. Okay, localhost. Let's see password. Let me check the pretty one. Each time I see the CSS code, I think something like appeared or got an output, but nah. So we have the 155, which is a bad request, and the casual one. Alright, let's check by the length. So the same thing. By the time, nothing interesting. Okay, maybe we can try with. So now we have another one. Let me check again. Turbo intruder bulk. With the .php. I mean, it will not work, right? Like logically. But I'm not losing anything. It's not a real pen test, so you can try as much as you want. So let me get that. Yeah, it will not work. No way it's gonna work. No. What else can we do? Yeah. I'm gonna stop intercepting and let's try to get back into here. And okay, how it works. So it's getting the getinfo.php. What's happening here? Once we load profile.php, it sends data, which is probably used for analytics or logs. Getting the URL. So here they're telling us the source code analysis of the page shows that is reading URL parameters, okay, and without performing any validation, it sends information server mentioned in the URL parameter. So it sends the info.php back to the local host, which is the remote server, which is not us. So if we change that into us, would it send back to us? Okay, so here an attacker can redirect requests to their server. Okay, that's what I was thinking about. Thus getting additional information for exploitation or data pilferage. On your attack box, create a new file called server.python and adding the following code to it. Above code will receive the content. So what this code is doing is calling libraries, making a class, defining functions, get another response, hello get request. Let's start without the code first. The above code will receive all the content and save it. And then I need to run sudo. So let's try running the sudo python -3 python 3-m http.server menu. How do you I mean 80, not menu. I have to say that in Arabic. Okay. Now open the browser, which will log the data HTML. Open the data HTML. So here I'm gonna type my attack. Let me get my IB. 10.90.211. So the backend code takes the URL and whatever IP is here, it sends back the get info back to it. Okay. That's why we have our own code, because it's a post request. Maybe if I tried php-s, that might work. I believe it receives post requests. I'm not sure. Don't quote me. Don't quote me on that. So let's try to get the info.php. Okay. Okay. I for. Let's try to use their code. Let me try to go to delete and server.python. I'm gonna call that still.py. Gonna paste that. So do we need to change anything? Server address, I believe. At 8080, I believe I have. Oops. I believe I have burp, right? 8080 burp. And zap 8081. Let me try with 80 alone. And over here, I'm gonna try with 80. I'm gonna save that. Then Python 3 to delete.py. You can call that server if you want. So the server is running. And let's try now to call that back. We received a post. So this script is just taking the post request and outputting that into a file, which is data.html. Not file, Firefox. First of all, let me get that, or less that. So yep, we have downloaded that. That. Forgot how to exit less, seriously. Yep. So you can just type WQRQ and then Firefox it. So it's running already. Let me move that to home and then file manager. And I need to go, oops, into home. And here is it. Wow, nice. So we printed the full infos of the PHP version of the PHP info file. Does out of band SSRF always include a technique in which attacker always receive direct response from the server? Always? Maybe I have. Yeah, it's not always. In some cases, you might have an allow or a deny list. What is the value for virtual directory support? Virtual directory support. Excuse me. For virtual directory support on the PHP server per the logged data. Do I even have directory? disabled. What is the value of the PHP extension build? Here is it. Nah. This is the correct one. Blind. Which type of SSRF doesn't give us a direct response or a feedback? Okay, let's move on. So an attacker could abuse SSRF by crashing the server or creating a denial of service for other hosts. There are multiple instances like WordPress. There is a blog, as we can see in the left bottom corner, and a GitHub code where attackers try to disrupt the availability of a system by launching SSRF attacks. So crashing the server, we need to crash the server by using a DDoS technique. So how are we gonna do that? How it works? I'm gonna skip a bit because the video has been running for so long. Once we log into the dashboard, we will see a tab called Training in the navigation bar. So we've checked that before. It's called a banner. So we notice in the url.php. Okay, let's move into there. Here is our training. Training is calling url.php ID, then the IP. Let's try and check url.php. There is nothing to check in here. Let me try, instead of reaching for banner, try path directory, path traversal, and etc. Password. Error fetching the content. Okay. Maybe over here, config, whatsoever. No, but at least we don't have any error. So we might be able to enumerate all the files in that directory. We notice that url.php file is loading external content displayed here. What if we try to load any other content? Try opening the file 10.10.10.10. So, yep, this file, I believe, for the VPN didn't work. Why? Wait a minute. Why didn't work? PHP ID equal. Okay, we need to remove the IP. Gotcha. So here we see connection verified, TryHackMe connection. Do we need to provide that as a flag? There is another flag, this one. Alright. So what do they want from us? It opened file for you. Now that we know the server is vulnerable to basic SSRF, let's explore the code of url.php. Make it crash the server. Once we access the URL, localhost URL, we'll see the following code at the footer. Only works if user not logged in. Okay, let's try that. Let me get back to training. Try to access that over here. Let's try as they want. How can I sign out? Log out. And let's try to reach that. So we can see the code over here. Okay, so we should have ran at least directory, their parser or Xerox parser or Go parser, and check all the directories or files that we have access to. Here we see a code, URL code. Let's get back into TryHackMe and see what do they need from us. They are telling us the image is base64 encoded, where we have a condition less than 100. While PHP loads an image if the size exceeds 100 kilobyte, which is extremely small. It shows a memory outage message and throws an error. Let's try to crash the server by loading an image greater than 100 kilobyte. Already have such image available for you. Maybe this one more than 100 kilobyte. I'm gonna save that at home. Let me go to others, then reach home from here. Not here. I'm gonna put that into downloads. Okay. Can see thread posted by SSRF vulnerabilities. So let's try reach this. Okay, they already have. We can try to reach that through making a Python and Python-m HTTP server if you want to use that and sharing your photo, but we can reach that. Let's try and do that. So probably I need to be signed in. Nah. Okay. No need to be signed in. This is the flag. Here we crashed the server and we got our flag. Alrighty, so let's move on. How to remediate that? You can read that on your own. As Prof said, we need to maintain our allow list and deny list, network segmentation, security headers, strict input validation, and I believe, yeah, that's enough. Yeah, strong access control. You need that to stop IDOR as well and almost every other vulnerability. And logging and monitoring, that's not, I would say, prevention. That's just in case something happens, at least incident response and every other and the SOC team and every other blue team member can at least discover how that happened and close that gateway for the future attacks. Which of the following is the suggested approach while handling trusted URLs? Write the correct one only. Filter all disallowed URL, maintain an allow list of trusted URL. Suggested approach. I believe the maintaining allow list, because you cannot filter all the disallowed. You can add some of the malicious one, but it's not enough. Since SSRF mainly exploits server-side requests, it's optional to sanitize the input. I mean, as we've mentioned here, validation and sanitization, and it's not optional. Actually, you need, it's a must. So I'm gonna answer hopefully with an A. Yep. And conclusion. So that was it. Thank you guys for watching, and be sure to watch all other suggested rooms for the BT1 exam, and good luck. See you next video.